And we are live. What's good, y'all? From man DL Saint. Welcome. I really want to know podcast Saturday edition. How y'all feeling out there, man? I hope all is well. Yeah, man, we're here to talk about some air traffic control stuff. I'm definitely going to talk later tonight. I think I'm gonna jump on and we're gonna talk about the flagrant video interview with James Sexton, talking about prenups and stuff like that. So we're gonna do that tonight, guys. I saw early when I woke up, I go to bed late. So when I got up, I saw the news about this Delta flight and this Delta Airbus and a military flight at Washington National. Did they get too close? We're going to get into it. We're going to find out, man. So I hope you guys are doing good. And, let's just get into it. And we are live. What's good, y'all? Welcome to the I Really Want to Know podcast, y'all. Get some indeed. So, yeah, man. Apparently, there was a close call. You guys know I'm a retired air traffic controller, and I don't mind breaking down this stuff. I mean, it's definitely my wheelhouse. That's what I did for the better part of my adult life. So, there was a close call, and there's definitely news reports about this. I've seen local affiliates and even national news talk about it. The Today Show, I think, was talking about it. It's everyone's kind of talking about it. But there's a lot going on. There's the earthquake in Myanmar, which is horrific, man. They're expected that tens of thousands of people will not survive that. You guys have seen the video, I'm sure, of the buildings falling down and the skyscrapers shaking back and forth, and the hotel skyscrapers are shaking back and forth so much that the water from the pool are just pouring out of the building, making like a waterfall. Crazy, tremendous loss of life, property, a lot of damage there, man. Definitely keep the people in Myanmar, in China as well, Thailand, that whole region. Keep those people in your thoughts. It's crazy what's going on with that earthquake. And then, of course, we have the Signal Gate over here. That story is kind of, a little bit muted right now, but people are still asking questions about that. It's still in the news cycle. So that's something that the administration is going to have to deal with, which is real simple, man. Just fire somebody. That's all they got to do. Fire somebody. We ain't never going to do this again. But that's not how the current administration works. I'm looking at my system seems to be messed up, but we're broadcasting. Right? Yeah, we're broadcasting. So I don't have a running time. But it looks like we're broadcasting. Huh. Let's see if I can I got Brother Marcus in the chat. What's good, fam? Good to see you, bro. Yeah. My system's a little messed up on my end. What's good, Sister Jody? Good to see you. What's up? Good to see you. Yeah, don't ever forget the ladies, for sure. I look a little confused because I'm looking at my system here. I use StreamYard, and it's not recording, but we're broadcasting. Crazy, huh? Crazy. So I'm just curious. How this is going to work. Like, you guys can hear me, right? This is because I'm looking here. I'm thinking, man, should I restart this? But if it's going live on YouTube, I should be good. If you guys can see me. And they might have some updates. Loud and clear. Okay, we're good to go. All right, we're going to keep going. We're just going to keep going. So I'm going to see if I can pull up these. Yeah, the video should be able to come right up. So this is why I monitor my stream in real time. Because I'm looking at it like, all right, everything seems to be good. But my system here is telling me that I'm off, which is kind of like air traffic control stuff, right? This is how it works when the pilot is flying. Sometimes, like when they're flying on a beautiful day, it's just like you got your own airplane, you're out flying around, and you're looking at your instruments. You got to have someone with you. It's good to have someone with you, or if you're by yourself, you use air traffic controllers. So you're flying around. It's like, okay, everything is good, and then you look down at your equipment, and your gauges might be off. Like your equipment might not be functioning properly. It's like, oh, it shows that I have, it shows that I'm, whatever. I'm going left when I'm going straight, or it shows, it shows my altitude is off. Like, hey, hey, tower, can you tell me what altitude you show me at? Tower says you're at, 1,500 feet. It's like, yeah, I show that I'm at 500 feet. And then you can make adjustments or whatever, just make mental notes. And you're like, okay, I can still fly. I'm okay. So let me, head back and try to figure out what's going on, or continue on to your destination, whatever you want to do. So that's kind of like what this is now. Yeah, I'm just kind of looking at my equipment. I'm looking at my, like, wait a minute, my equipment says that this stuff is off, but clearly we are broadcasting. So yeah, it's definitely scary. So, I mean, that's just the business of air travel, and it's still the safest form of travel. I don't want you guys to get that confused at all, even though you're hearing all this stuff in the news. And we're about to break down what they're talking about with this mid-air, or they're calling it a mid-air situation, near mid-air situation. But I got a feeling it's just going to be a close call. I haven't watched anything or read anything on this. I just saw the headlines. I'm like, you know what? I'll do this live. We're going to listen to the air traffic communications between Delta and DCA. We're going to start by watching one of the local affiliates talk about what's going on, and we're going to move from there. But I mean, I got a feeling that I think it's going to be technically a loss of separation. Remember, they need at least 1,000 feet between certain types of airplanes. You normally want 1,000 feet between your air carriers, but they got to have at a minimum 500 feet if one of the two airplanes involved are flying under different rules. We'll get into all that here in a second. But you're gonna need the pilots to see each other. So there are different forms of separation that can be used, and we're just gonna have to see. Right? We're just going to have to see what happened here, and I'll give you guys my 2 cents. So let's pull up the video. This is from a local news affiliate, and we're just going to see what they're talking about here. I think this is just a good place to start. Let me pull this up. We're just going to see what they're talking about here, and then we're going to go to the air traffic communication. So here we go. Let's check this out.
A close call between a passenger plane and a military aircraft at Reagan National Airport. We thank you for staying up with us. I'm Leslie Foster.
And I'm Lorenzo Hall. So the details we've gathered tonight are similar to what happened moments before January's deadly mid-air collision. Tonight's incident happened in that same area. The FAA just put out a statement saying the plane got an alert stating another aircraft was nearby.
The agency says that gave time for air traffic control to give directions that averted a disaster. Matt Gregory shares what else we know right now.
At this hour, details continue to come out about the apparent close call between a Delta Airlines flight and an Air Force jet. Now, we continue to work our sources, but let's take you to what we know right now. According to our partners at CNN, around 3:15, a Delta Airlines flight this afternoon took off from DCA bound for Minneapolis. Now, not long after taking off, the collision warning system inside the cockpit went off, and according to CNN and the audio obtained from the air traffic controllers, it appears that the pilot saw a jet near its airspace about 500 feet below, and it was a T-38 according to our sources, which is an Air Force training jet normally. Now, this also happened, if you're wondering where, not far, according to our sources, from where the fatal mid-air collision happened in January between a military helicopter and that American Airlines flight. Now, Delta has confirmed that the flight did follow all procedures in listening to the warning system, and the Air Force could not confirm whether or not one of their planes was involved. They just did say that a T-38 was part of a military flyover over Arlington National Cemetery, but could not confirm if that was the T-38 that was involved in this apparent incident. Delta has issued a statement that says, quote, Nothing is more important than the safety of our customers and people, and that's why the flight crew followed procedures to maneuver the aircraft as instructed. Now you can count on us to continue to work our sources throughout the night as we get more information on this apparent near miss near DCA. At Reagan National Airport, I'm Matt Gregory, WUSA 9.
All right, so there you have it, man. And shout out to those good people over there bringing you the news. From that report, from that report right there, it seems to me that there was probably not an ATC error. There probably was not a loss of separation. And the reason I'm saying this is, again, you're going to have to wait for the report. This one, I doubt even will go to NTSB. This is going to be handled by FAA management, and that's just going to be handled locally. Maybe the regional head, the regional administrator or something like that will peek in on it just because of the news, right? Because it's high profile and, the country's talking about it. And, of course, what happened at DCA. But what I believe happened here sounds to me that a VFR airplane, an aircraft that's flying under, visual flight rules, which would have been the military jet, even though it's a fast airplane, even though it's military, I'm willing to bet that the military jet was flying VFR, just out, he's doing his thing. He's getting permission, has to be talking to air traffic. So whatever he's doing was approved by air traffic controllers. And then you have this air carrier taking off, which is IFR, flying instruments. And the air carrier got within, if this report is to be believed, the air carrier got within 500 feet of the military jet. They're separated. They're separated. 500 feet between VFR and IFR is separation. They're good. And if the VFR pilot, which is the jet pilot saw the Airbus, which he probably did. Again, we have to wait and hear the transmission. We'll see. We have to hear, what was said between, all parties. But if the pilot saw the jet, that's even more separation, like two forms of separation. Now, the big thing is, I'm willing to bet here that the Delta crew, the IFR air carrier, wasn't told about the military jet. And that could startle the pilot and the crew. Like, wait a minute, we see something out here. What's going on? That's going to make them nervous. But it's not wrong, right? So it's not a loss of separation. So we're going to go over to our favorite YouTube channel, VASAviation, who they went out and found via live ATC, I believe it is, the transmissions. So we're going to hear collision alert with military jet at Washington Reagan Airport. We're going to listen to this next. And I know, now here's the thing with air traffic control. There are lots of rules that can be applied in various situations. And, sometimes there's a hard, fast rule for a situation like you must have this. Like if you have two IFR airplanes, you must have 1,000 feet vertical separation or 3 miles lateral separation. That's it. You must have that. Now, there are within that, okay, I have 1,000 feet separation between these two airplanes, and the airplane on the bottom wants to start climbing, and he's going to get close to the other airplane. Now, the airplane that wants to go climb, he sees his traffic. It's 1,000 feet above him and going the opposite direction. He sees that traffic. Once the pilot says, we have traffic in sight, we'll maintain visual separation, that is a form of separation. So now it's on the pilot to miss this guy. So now you can approve the climb. All right? Maintain visual separation, climb and maintain 5,000 or wherever the altitude might be. And the pilot will maintain visual up to 5,000, right? So, and the thing in the air traffic controller world, the way we were trained and the way I would train controllers when I was in the business is traffic for one is traffic for the other. Make sure both pilots, both crews know what's going on. You got two airplanes coming at each other. They're going to be a factor. They're separated by 1,000 feet. One plane wants to climb past the other plane. You say, listen, you call the traffic. The plane that wants to climb sees the traffic that's above him and the traffic that's moving, that's 1,000 feet above him, tell him, hey, that traffic 11 o'clock, 6 miles, opposite direction. They'll be climbing out of 2,000 for 5,000. They have you in sight, maintaining separation or maintaining visual separation or whatever you want to say. And the crew will say, okay, we're looking for him. And a lot of times the crew will say, yeah, we see him down there. Or sometimes they'll say, yeah, we got him on the fish finder. Like, what's the fish finder? Just their onboard radar. So they'll tell you, like, okay, cool. Everybody knows what's going on. So no one's going to be upset, whatever, generally speaking. All right, they see it, da-da-da. Now, sometimes the pilot who's climbing out might get too close to the other airplane, and the other airplane will get nervous. Like, yeah, we see that guy, but man, he got a little too close there. And that's the pilot telling the other pilot, like, hey man, why do you have to get so close? But generally speaking, they know what's going on. This guy's gonna climb. That guy's gonna see him. Everyone knows what's going on. Not a problem. But a lot of the younger controllers today, they read the rules, and the rules state all I have to do is get this pilot to see that pilot, and now I can let him climb. It's like, well, yeah, the rules state you can do that. But common sense or experience is going to dictate that you want both airplanes to see each other so it won't lead to a problem down the road. This might be that type of a situation. Delta wasn't told about the military guy, and the military guy zipped through there. Delta saw him either on his onboard radar or out the window, and his, or he didn't see nothing, but his system is telling him there's a problem out here, collision alert type stuff. And the Delta pilots, they want to know what's going on. This is not cool. So again, we haven't heard the ATC transmissions yet. We're about to listen to them in a second, but I'm willing to bet that the controller didn't let Delta know everything. He didn't paint the picture. I'm going to clear you for takeoff. You're going to turn a certain way. You're going to climb to an altitude, traffic. Right? And then you tell them about there's going to be a T-38 out there. You might see him in the turn. He's at this altitude going this direction, right? That's all you got to do. So when now the crew is expecting something. So when they start taking off, their equipment starts going off saying, hey, there's traffic out here. The crew's already looking for the guy, and they're going to see him. Like, oh, there he is. T-38s can be hard to see, though, because they're smaller. But if you know you're looking for a T-38, you know which way he's coming from, what direction to look in, you'll be able to find that traffic pretty quick. So let's pull up the air traffic stuff. I can't tell who's here. Like I said, my system is down on my end. According to my equipment here, I should not even be broadcasting, but I am. So I don't know who's in the chat. I don't know how many people are there. All I can see is who is putting comments in. I can see the comments because I can see the comments, but I can't see anything else. So if there's anyone out there, I don't. It could be just the three of us in here. It could just be Brother Marcus, Sister Jody, and myself, or it could be 5,000 people in here. I don't know. So welcome. This is I Really Want to Know podcast. Thanks for rocking out with me. I'm DL Saint. I'm a former air traffic controller, retired air traffic controller, FAA. I was also a controller in the United States Army. I was a paratrooper once upon a time, and that's what I did in the Army. I was a tactical air traffic controller, combat controller, whatever you want to call them. So let's listen to the ATC stuff, guys. Let's check this out real quick. Let me pull this up. Just take me 1 second. Yeah, this is it. And this is VASAviation, guys. If you haven't gone over and checked them out, please go to their YouTube channel and subscribe. Even if you're not really into ATC talk, this is the place to get it. You get to hear what happened exactly as it happened. And they do a real good job of getting that information out there. And they do little summaries so you kind of figure out what's going on. And then someone like Uncle Saint will pull this up and we'll break down the air traffic transmissions. And I'll give my 2 cents. But I just told you guys, I believe that whatever's about to happen here, whatever we're about to hear, I think that the controller didn't pass traffic or wasn't clear to the Delta flight as to this military guy that's going to be, skipping through. I wonder if the military jet is transmitting on VHF, which is VHF and UHF. UHF is what the military normally uses, is the frequencies that they use, the radio, UHF radio. And VHF is what the civilians use, and that's what air traffic uses. So a lot of times you'll have the military guys might be on the UHF frequency. The controller can hear them, but it's not being recorded the same way that everyone else is. Everything's being recorded, but the UHF frequency, you will have to pull up a separate, like click a different button when you go to live ATC if you want to hear the UHF frequency, I believe. But the VHF is everything. So we may or may not hear the military jet. I hope the military jet is on VHF. So let's check this out, guys. And here we go. Shout out to VAS. So here's the summary. Delta Airlines Airbus, which is an A319, performing flight from Dallas, under flight Delta 2983. So Delta call sign is DAL. So DAL 2983 is Delta 2983 from Washington to Minneapolis. Was on initial climb when the pilots received an onboard collision avoidance alert. That's the TCAS. It's an RA. Due to a flight of four T-38 Talon military planes coming in close for a practice maneuver over the airport. Okay. Flight of four. Okay. That's some information that they didn't have on the news. Flight of four. Okay. So they could have been doing anything. They could have been going to like Arlington or something like that to do a missing man flight. They could have just been out practicing, maneuvers and stuff like that. It could have been a training flight. That's a wrinkle. That's a little different. A flight of four T-38s. So Delta 2983 is going to get his takeoff clearance, and they're going to Minneapolis, and he was climbing out when he received an RA. Okay. That is not uncommon, guys. When you have an airplane departing, it is not at all uncommon for that aircraft to get a TCAS alert, an RA, anything like that. Anything could be out there. You can have an airship, like a blimp out there. You can have helicopters out there floating around. Anything could be out there. So an airplane takes off. They could get a TCAS. So you definitely want to tell the pilot, hey, on your climb out, there's gonna, there will be traffic. There's traffic out there. You can say, hey, there's traffic, 2 miles south of the airport, southeast, southwest of the airport, whatever. Which direction they're going north, south, east, or west, and what altitude they are. Simple as that. It could be a Cessna traffic watch. It could be a traffic watch Cessna is out there looking at the freeways, giving a traffic report. It could be law enforcement. It could be anything. So if you have potential traffic for an aircraft that's departing, you want to make sure you give them an advisory with their takeoff clearance, right? So Delta 2983, clear for takeoff, traffic 2 miles south of the airport, northbound, 1,500 Cessna or helicopter or flight of four T-38s, like whatever the case may be. You want to let that aircraft know. So this is one of the things in air traffic control. You're always scanning. You're always looking. So you're not just looking at the runway and the taxiways to tie into for problems. You're looking at the departure in. Like you draw a line in your mind of the route that pilot's going to take. And is there anything in his way from the ground up through 5,000 feet? Well, you don't have to really worry about 5,000 feet. That's another controller's responsibility, but wherever your airspace ends. So if your airspace goes up to 2,000 feet or 3,000 feet, wherever your airspace ends, you want to be scanning. Is there anything that's going to get close to or in the way of this airplane as it's climbing from the ground through 3,000 feet? And if the answer is yes, tell the pilot what's going on, because you're the air traffic controller and you have separation. So, you're providing some sort of separation. So tell the pilot what's going on. So, all right, let's get into it. Let's hear what they have to say.
Delta 2963, 2983, runway 19, quick takeoff, flight runway heading, maintain 5,000.
Runway heading 5,000, so takeoff 19.
Blue Streak 308, contact on departure.
Switching departure, Blue Streak 308. Departure, Blue Streak 3.
So right here, you guys can see Delta is just now starting his takeoff roll. So Delta's going to come off the runway. He's going to fly runway heading, which means he's going to fly straight, and he's going to climb to 5,000 feet. So you got Talon 6-1, looks like it is. Talon 6-1. Where my glasses at? Let me put my glasses on real quick. Yeah, you got Talon 6-1. That's the flight of 4 T-38s. They're at 1,100 feet, and they're indicating 300 knots. That's fast. They should be doing 250 or less. So to me, right away, so I'm looking at this. To me, right away, I got a problem. My flight of 4 jets are flying too fast. They should be at 250 knots or slower. That's just below 10,000 feet. You're not supposed to exceed 250 knots if you're a jet. That's basic stuff. Unless that there is some sort of letter of agreement between the military guys and DCA that those flights are going to be flying fast. All right. So, and the thing is, it's because of their altitude, man. They're just so low. They're 1,100 feet. They're just, man, they're just above the deck. And then you have, what's that, jet speed? I think it was 5308. He just, the tower controller just shipped him off to departure. He's 1,800 feet climbing, 170 knots. He's got a good rate of climb there. So he has 700 feet between his flight of 4. Did the tower tell him about the flight? Because they're 11 passing towards 12 o'clock, and man, just a couple miles. So I guess the controller is anticipating separation. He's anticipating that this is not going to be a factor for this airplane. So let's keep listening.
308, passing 2,000 for 5,000, heading 170. Blue Street 5308, summer better contact, maintain flight level 190, heading 090. Heading 0.
All right, so we're listening to the radar controller, like the departure controller. Was talking to Blue Streak. Blue Streak checked in, 2,600 feet climbing. Now he's at 190 knots. Talon flew directly below him at 1,000 feet. Right now, Talon flight is doing 310 knots. Again, that speed right there is, I don't understand why they're going so fast. That speed is a problem. As we can see, speed is the factor. Speed is why it got in the way. So Delta comes off the departure end. Remember, Delta was told to fly runway heading to climb to 5,000. So Delta's off the departure end, 1,000 feet climbing, doing about 140 knots. Talon flight is out there. So right now they're at the same altitude, and there's not a lot of space between them. They're at the same altitude, man. And I didn't hear with the takeoff clearance. Remember I was saying before, with the takeoff clearance, I didn't hear any advisories. The controller didn't say anything to Delta about a flight of 4 T-38s that are out there flying around at around 1,100 feet, and they're doing 300 knots. Like this 300 knots is fast, guys. That is lightning fast. When you're below, especially when you're below 5,000. Like anything below, I mean, Jesus, man. That's fast. That's fast. Sister Adrian Nicole's in the building. What's good, sis? How are you doing? We're doing this show. I'm kind of flying in the blind here. It says on my end, my StreamYard shows that I am not broadcasting, but obviously I must be broadcasting because you're here. We got Sister Jody here. We got Brother Marcus here, my favorite devil dog. So welcome. So right here, it's kind of what I was suspecting. Delta wasn't given an advisory on a flight of 4 T-38s are going to be in their way. Delta wasn't given that advisory. And as you can see, as soon as Delta got off the deck, the flight of 4 T-38s were a problem. Now, we haven't heard a single transmission from Talon 6-1. And I suspect that's because Talon is on a UHF frequency and they're talking to the controller, the same controller, on a different frequency. The thing is, even if Talon is on a different frequency, like a UHF frequency, we would still hear the controller talking to the military guys. We just wouldn't hear the military guys respond, right? Because the response would be recorded, somewhere else. So but we will hear the controller because the controller would be broadcasting on the VHF frequency and the UHF frequency. So air traffic controllers can broadcast and receive on multiple frequencies at the same time. So I haven't heard anything reference Talon. So Delta's coming off, climbing to 5,000. Okay, so let's continue.
090-190, Blue Chicken 308.
Delta 2983, contact on departure.
Delta 2983, clear to today.
Delta 2983. Delta 2983, can you hold your
All right, so that part right there, you heard the tower controller give Delta 2983 a frequency change. Delta 2983 contact Potomac departure. Delta 2983 went right to, when you ship these professional pilots, man, they are gone. As soon as you say contact something, they are gone. And I tell you what, I've trained I've trained a lot of people in my day. And the one thing you want to do as a trainer, when you have a trainee about to give a frequency change, you want to key your microphone so the pilot only hears you. Delta 2983, remain as frequency, traffic 11 o'clock, mile and a half, flight of 4T38, 1,100, report traffic in sight. Something like that. That's what you want to say. You want to say that you want to override your trainee and make sure Delta doesn't leave. Then Delta will say, Roger, we're looking for the traffic. And then Delta will come right back. We have the traffic in sight. But if you want to keep them, that's what you got to do as a trainer. This guy gave the frequency change, and then he immediately keys up. Oh, okay, are you still with me, Delta? Nah, Delta's gone, bro. Delta's gone. So let's continue.
Delta 2983, 1,800, climbing 5,000, where am I heading? Delta 2983, some departure radar contact, I maintain 120,000. I maintain 120,000, look 2983.
all aircraft in the whole bay 19, just stand by for a few minutes. We got a temporary stop on departure.
Delta 2983, clear to elbow. Delta 2983, go ahead. We had a momentary TCAS already. Was there an actual aircraft about 500 feet below us as we came off of DCA?
So here it is. Delta is asking the approach controller, hey, when we departed, we had traffic, we had a TCAS alert, was there traffic 500 feet below us? And Potomac is saying, yes, affirmative. So yeah, just like I suspected, the tower controller did not paint the picture, did not let Delta know that there was going to be an aircraft, or in this case, a flight in aircraft below him. 500 feet is legal. You got separation, 500 feet. And then again, we don't know what Talon was told. Talon 6-1 probably was told about the traffic departing. And in Talon 6-1, again, this is me guessing. I don't know. We haven't heard anything. Talon 6-1 probably said, yeah, we got traffic in sight. So you got two forms of separation there. But Delta needs to know as well. Delta needs to know, especially in a situation where you're coming off the deck. They need to know that there's going to be someone below them as soon as they're climbing out. This is very important. And a lot of people are like, well, this is just technique. I had separation. I'm like, all right, well, that's, this was your technique. Fine. Now you got to explain to the entire world because everybody wants to know what happened. Right? But had he simply told whoever this controller was, simply gave an advisory, Delta 2983, after departure, fly runway heading, climb and maintain 5,000. You're right. Traffic, flight of 4T38s. They will be passing northbound, restricted below you at whatever altitude. Right. And again, I don't work this airspace, so I'm not sure. I guess you would have to say traffic will be 11 o'clock, 3 miles northbound, flight of 4T38s. They have you in sight, restricted below you. Right. Or you can say they'll be restricted 500 feet below you. Right. So, but the point is, you got to let that crew know there's going to be some airplanes out there that they see you. The airplanes see you, like fast movers. They see you. They're going to miss you. They're going to be 500 feet below you. That's all he had to say. Clear for takeoff. Right? That's all he had to say. Right? Delta 2983, fly runway heading, maintain 5,000. traffic will cross 500 feet below you. Off of departure in northbound flight of 4 T-38s, clear for takeoff. I think it's 17, runway 17, clear for takeoff. And Delta's going to be like, all right, we'll be looking for traffic, clear for takeoff, climbing to 5,000. And then they would have gone. We wouldn't be talking about this right now. We wouldn't be talking about it. That's normal air traffic, everyday stuff. But the controller didn't do it. And that is a sign of, you know what I mean, they're rookies, man. It's a sign of inexperience, in my opinion. Dr. B in the building, what's good, fam? To me, that's a sign of inexperience. And I don't know where the supervisor was. I don't know what was going on. I mean, it is what it is. We know that they're having staffing issues there, especially with what happened with the mid-air collision that occurred. I'm pretty sure there are controllers who aren't coming to work because they are still trying to process and deal with that, you know, catastrophe. So it could have been like, there could be four controllers down just because of that incident alone. Plus, you still get people get their time off, people get sick, so you just don't know. And you just can't pull controllers and pull them in there because they have to go through the training process. I mean, it would take minimum, 3 to 6 months for them to get certified. Minimum. That's if someone had already been previously certified at that facility. So they have a staffing crisis, and stuff like this doesn't make it any better. So, but yeah, guys, let's listen to the rest of this.
Okay.
Bluetooth 5576, we'll get you back in. The flyby's all done. Appreciate your patience. Sorry I couldn't give you more of a heads up. They increased their time over target, so that's what the vector away from the field was.
Gotcha. Thank you for the heads up, Mr. Dyson.
And that was it. Blue Streak came back. I guess we have the Talon flight, and then that was that little bit with Blue Streak. I don't understand that little bit with Blue Streak. We're gonna watch this again, guys. Again, this is the first time I've watched this all the way through. I watched all the way up to the summary. I didn't watch beyond that. So we're gonna watch this again, guys. But I don't know, sis. Like, I'm looking at this. So was the controller at fault? I will say this, sis. Technically speaking, right, the controller had separation, in my opinion. In my opinion. Again, I don't know this airspace. I don't know their letters of agreement. I don't know their operations. I don't know what they're required to do in these type situations. So I'm just going by the just basic 7110.65, which is our rule book. I'm just going by that. Based on what I just saw here, what I just heard here, the controller didn't do anything technically wrong. I couldn't give this controller a loss of separation based on what I'm seeing here. Again, there's a lot of stuff out there I don't know. I would need to pull more information. And then, if there's some rules out there, some local rules that the controller broke that I'm not aware of, okay, that's that. But had a VFR flight, 4 airplanes in a VFR flight that was 500 feet below an IFR aircraft. You got separation there. Did the VFR flight see the IFR aircraft? Right, because that's a form of separation. I'm willing to bet they did. It was a clear day. Weather didn't seem to be an issue. It's really easy to see a white Delta Airbus. It's a big airplane. It's painted white, blue letters on it. It's really easy to see. He's coming off the runway. So when traffic was called to the flight of 4, if traffic was called, that's the easiest airplane to see is Delta coming off the runway. So that flight of 4 is like, yeah, we see Delta. So that's even more separation. The problem is the controller didn't tell Delta that's a tech. Now we're getting into technique. So I would say that the controller is guilty of poor technique, but that's not a separation issue. It's not a what we used to call a deal. That's not a deal. So I would have to answer no, the controller was not at fault. It doesn't seem that the flight of 4 T-38s were at fault. Again, we haven't heard what was said to them. That's key. We really need to hear what the controllers were saying to that flight. And we're gonna let's run that back one more time. Let's just look at the whole thing. I'm gonna let the whole thing run through and see if I missed anything.
2963, 2983, runway 19, clear, take off, fly, runway heading, maintain 5000.
Runway heading 5,000, so take off 19.
Blue Streak 308, contact on departure.
Switching departure, Blue Streak 308. Departure, Blue Streak 308, passing 2,000 for 5,000, heading 170. Blue Streak 308, come up better contact, maintain flight level 190, heading 090. Heading 090, 190, Blue Streak 308.
Delta 2983, contact on departure.
Delta 2983, clear to good day.
Delta 2983. Delta 2983, can you hold your
Delta 2983, 1,800, comment 5,000, runway heading. Delta 2983, some departure radar contact, climb maintain 120,000. Climb maintain 120,000, Delta 2983.
all aircraft in the whole bay 19, just stand by for 3 minutes, we got a temporary stop on departure.
Delta 2983, clear to elbow.
All right. So, man, I don't. Watching that again. All right, watching that again. I'm more concerned with Blue Streak and Talon flight. So this opens up with I'm more concerned with Blue Streak and Talon flight. All right. Kind of watching this again. We really need to hear what ATC told Talon flight, that Talon 61 flight. What were they told? We really need to know that. We really need to know that. We really need to know that. that's the information we got to hear, the transmissions between ATC and the flight of 4 T-38s. That will determine if a mistake was made on the ATC side. If the air traffic controller told Talon flight about Blue Streak and about Delta. So the first thing to me is Blue Streak. They were close. They were close. I'm thinking there may have been a loss of separation between Blue Streak and Talon flight, possibly. Because when we get to look at the video, there was he had maybe 700 feet, which means a sweep before that, they wouldn't have had the separation needed, right? Because you're going to need, again, when it comes to IFR stuff, the general rule is 1,003. 1,000 feet vertical, 3 miles lateral. That's the general rule. You can cut that down. You can cut that in half when you're dealing with VFR and IFR. But the key is the VFR traffic has to see the IFR traffic before you lose separation. Before you can do less separation, you have to have your separation established. So we need more information. The Blue Streak thing, Blue Streak didn't say anything, but that was close. That was close. And then we move on to the Delta part. Again, we never heard air traffic give any instructions or call any traffic to Talon flight. Now here's the deal. Here's another thing. There could be a separate controller working the military flights, the helicopters, and the jets. I don't know the situation in DCA. There might be another tower. So there could be another controller involved in all this. So if that's the case, now we need to know what that controller said to the flight of 4 and what that controller said to his ATC counterpart in the tower. Because it gets into who owns what part of the airspace for this type of maneuver. So this might turn into something, guys. I know I said that the NTSB wouldn't investigate this. It's probably going to be local. The NTSB probably will have a look at this. They probably will have a look at this. And they're probably going to ask the same questions I'm asking, like, okay, what was said? Okay, what type of separation was being used? Right? They're going to be looking at this, and and management is going to look at techniques. Like, okay, you might have been legal here, but that's a poor technique. And we heard the air traffic controller try to keep Delta, or try to give Delta some sort of instruction, right? He told them, Delta contact Potomac. Delta went to the approach control. He's talking to departure now, and departure and approach control, same thing. And the tower controller keys up, and he's trying to get Delta. Delta, you still want me? He's trying to give some sort of instruction. What instruction was he trying to give? Right. So this is the thing with air traffic. I mean, it's you're splitting so many hairs, and each individual hair is important. Right. So this is, we gotta listen to that one more time. So, and this is when people, like, when something happens, this is what air traffic control does. This is what the FAA does. They get all of the information, right? They get, I mean, everything. So they'll know what time Talon flight taxied out. They'll know from their airport. They're gonna pull all that information from the military guys. Talon flight taxied out, what instructions he was given. They're going to be looking at flight plan information. They're going to be looking at letters of agreement. They look at everything. This little stuff that, look at what we're doing here. I'm sitting here, and I could probably look at this thing for the next hour and a half and come up with 4 or 5 pages of questions that I want. And then I would take those questions, and I'm like, well, let me look at their, training. Let me look at their airspace breakdowns. Let me look at, what is this controller working this position responsible for? Let me look at that, the airspace stuff. Let me look at the letter of agreement between DCA and Potomac, TRACON. I mean, you got to look at all this. Who's responsible for what? So, and everything's written down. Right? So as when I see this as a, old controller, especially I've worked VFR stuff, like this is the stuff that I did. Immediately what I don't like is I'm not hearing enough traffic calls. That's what I don't like. Like, I'm not hearing these traffic calls. Why aren't I hearing? How come I can't hear the military guys? What frequency are they on? Who are they talking to? That's right. That's the biggest question right now. We really can't discern exactly who's at fault until we look at all that stuff. So, but of course we don't have all that stuff. All we have right now is this plot right here, this radar plot. We got the radar picture, and we're hearing the transmission. So let's listen to it one more time.
Delta 2963, 2983, runway 19, clear, take off, flight runway heading, maintain 5,000.
Runway heading 5,000, so take off 19.
Remember, runway heading 5,000, that's great. But add to that an advisory. Fly runway heading, maintain 5,000. Traffic 5 miles south of the airport, northbound. Flight of 4 T-38s, 1,300. Restricted below you. If you throw that in there, Delta would say, okay, runway heading 5,000, looking for traffic. Looking for traffic. So Delta knows there's something going to get close to him out there.
Blue Streak, 308, contact on departure.
So look at Blue Streak right here, man. Blue Streak's at 1,500 feet and climbing. Talon Flight's at 1,300 feet. We got 200 feet of separation here. Right? Talon Flight's doing 300 knots. Blue Streak is doing like 170. Right? You're getting close to 500. You got a closure rate of like almost 500 knots. Right? What does that mean? That means before you finish talking, they're right next to each other. That's what that means. Blue Streak got an RA. Guaranteed. Blue Streak got an RA. Now, again, we don't know what Blue Streak was told. We'll have to go back and listen to that. Did the tower give an advisor to Blue Streak say it's going to be a flight of 4 T-38s out there? Blue Streak doesn't seem to be concerned. Just listening to his voice, to me, doesn't seem to be concerned. But again, if I'm looking at this, if there's a loss of separation, it's definitely that would be between Talon 6-1 and Blue Streak. Like, what separation are we using here? Right? And maybe the controller or ATC will say, oh, we're using anticipated separation. Okay. Well, what separation did we have before we lost that? You have to have some sort of separation established before you can use others, right? So again, the T-38s may have been told about the RJ blue streak, the RJ, and then the Talon flight may have told ATC that we have that traffic in sight. If that is the case, then you're golden. If that's the case, if Talon 6-1 has blue streak in sight, they're golden. Not a problem.
Departure blue streak 308. Departure blue streak 308, passing 2,000 for 5,000, heading 170.
So a lot of people, when you look at the radar stuff, you're like, well, look on the radar. It's perfect. We have all kind of separation. But what people tend to forget or they don't understand is the radar is a window into the past. This isn't what's going on in real time. There's a delay. The information gets to the radar and it gets to you. There is a delay. So you're not looking at real time. So you look at that and it's like, oh, they had like maybe 200 feet of separation. Nah, nah, it was definitely less than that. It looks like 200 feet now, but you're looking into the past. So nah, again, I think that blue streak and Talon, this could be a thing, but we don't know what Talon was told.
Blue streak 5308, Selma Greater contact, maintain flight level 190, heading 090. Heading 090, blue streak 5308.
Delta 2983, contact on departure.
Delta 2983.
So if you're looking at the radar right here, it looks like they have a little bit of space between Talon and Delta. Delta said 500 feet, right? I think Talon's at 1,000 right here. Delta's out of 13. So it definitely would have been less than 500 feet. You're looking at less than a quarter mile separation. Again, we don't know what Talon 6-1 was told. Like, I mean, I don't, and I'm saying Talon, I don't even know what this call sign is. That TALON, right? So, but man, yeah, this is definitely a 2-4. We used to call him a 2-4, 2 for 1. This controller might have bought himself 2 deals. The question is, what were the military guys told? What were the military guys told? What did the military guys see? Did they see the RJ and then later see the Delta Airbus? If they did, fine. That's a form of separation. But technique-wise, the controller should have told Delta that there was going to be a flight of 4 T-38s passing close to him. And you see this right here, approximate separation, vertical 1.3 nautical miles, horizontal and vertical 300 feet. So this right here is a deal. Unless you have some sort of separation going on, i.e. visual separation with the flight of T-38s. So that's funny. I didn't even look at the red thing. So this right here is this is why it made the news. The separation they had at this point, when you're looking at these two, you had horizontal separation of 1.3 miles. And then you have vertical separation of 300 feet. So unless Talon 6-1 has Delta in sight, this is an error. But we don't know what the military guys saw. Right? So see what I mean, Sister Nicole? Like, this stuff gets crazy. Like, it's what form of separation is being used. What did the military guys see? Did the military guys see Delta? If so, when did they see Delta? Right? That's the technical stuff. And then the technique stuff is, why didn't the controller tell Delta about the flight of 4 with his takeoff clearance? That would have completely avoided all this.
Delta 193. Delta 193, can you hold your
And that part right there, Delta 293, can you hold what? Even if you had him, what instruction were you trying to give? Hold your altitude? You want Delta climbing. The last thing you want to do is stop his climb. Hold your altitude. Like, what are you trying to tell Delta? They're not going to ask that question. He never finished it. They're gonna ask him, well, what were you trying to say? And the controller's gonna say, I don't recall. Right? So you're never gonna get the answer to that. But man, if this all boils down to those military guys, if the flight lead did not see Delta, or if the flight lead wasn't told about Delta and and pass the traffic and then get the flight to say, yeah, we have the Airbus in sight, great, maintain visual separation. If that didn't happen, there's a problem.
Delta 2983, 1,800, Carmen 5,000, normal heading. Delta 2983, some departure radar contact, I maintain 120,000. I maintain 120,000, Delta 2983.
And did you hear the radar controller kind of giggle a little bit? Right? It's probably like he was probably being told or asked by his supervisor in that moment, right? Moments before Delta called up, he was probably being asked by the supervisor, hey, did the tower get permission from you to do something, or did you pass traffic, or did the tower pass traffic? They were probably asking him about the flight of 4. And the guy was probably like, what do you mean? That's not my airspace. Right? He's probably like, that's not my airspace. And then just talk to Delta 2993, Potomac approach. Yeah. Radar contact. Turn left hand 090, climb and maintain 12000. It's going to be the same instruction he gave Blue Streak. Right? More likely they're probably going, if they're going the same way. He's like, that's not my thing. And then you unkey and turn around like, that's not my responsibility. Why y'all asking me that? That's what happens in the TRACON, right? The controller's just working, but they're like, what are you talking to me about that for? So, wow.
All aircraft in the whole bay 19, just stand by for a few minutes. We got.
And this part right here, the tower controller is telling all aircraft in the whole bay, so all airplanes that are waiting to depart, to stand by just a minute. We've got a temporary stop to departures. Now, why do they have a stop to departures? Don't know. Never worked the airspace. It could be anything. The supervisor might have said stop departures so they can figure out what's going on. And all of this was before Delta asked about the guy below him at 500 feet. So we have no idea what's going on at this point, but they've stopped departures. So what's going on? More than likely, there's something else that we can't see that's out there that the radar guys need to sort out. So they're just like, hey, stop departures. We're going to need a couple minutes to sort all this stuff out. As soon as they fix whatever they're fixing, then they'll let the airplanes depart again. It shouldn't take but a couple minutes.
Temporary stop in departure.
Delta 2983, clear to elbow. Delta 2983, go ahead. We had a momentary TCAS already. Was there an actual aircraft about 500 feet below us as we came off of the DCA? Delta 2983, affirmative.
That part right there, man, if the tower controller had simply told Delta that there would be some airplanes out there, there's going to be a flight of 4 T-38s. The pilot, the crew of that Delta flight, they'll be like, oh, cool. They like seeing fast movers. Oh, cool. Where are they? We'll look for those guys. Yeah, they'll be, it's your 11 o'clock, 11 o'clock about a mile. They'll restrict it below you 500 feet, something like that. You just come up with a way to say it, but they'll just taking off and they're looking. Oh, there they are. Yeah, flight of 4. I remember those. Hey, Bob, remember when you was flying your T-38s? Because most of those guys are military anyway, right? And if they weren't military, they're like, man, those things look cool. Happens all the time. All the time. But if you don't tell them, it's going to be a problem. It's going to be a problem. That's why we're talking about it right now. Crazy.
Okay.
District 5576, we'll get you back in. The flyby's all done. Appreciate your patience. Sorry I couldn't give you more of a heads up. They increased their time over target, so that's what the vector away from the field was.
Gotcha.
Okay, so that's what was going on. So the TRACON guys, the radar guys, were keeping a portion of the airspace clean because of something going on. The news was saying that there was some sort of flyby at Arlington. That's probably why you had the flight of 4. And when you do the flyby, right, you do the missing man. So the airplanes, they'll fly over in a flight of 4, and then one of them will pull off. You guys have seen this before. They're probably doing the missing man formation. Someone, someone high-ranking official or something like that probably passed away, and they were having a ceremony for him at the airport. Crashing at the cemetery. So when that happens, there's a bunch of paperwork. They give you the times and all that. Hey, this is what we're going to be doing. This is how it's going to work. And the controllers have to keep airplanes away from that spot. It happens at Arlington. I would assume it happens a lot there. It happens at like football games and opening day and, college football, anything outside when they're going to do a flyover. That has to be coordinated with air traffic control. That coordination happens weeks in advance. Then the controllers get the information. They know when they're going, this is how we're going to do it. There's liaisons involved. They plan it all out. That makes sense. That's why they stop departures. That's why they were vectoring airplanes all over the place. Then once it's over, they get back to normal operations. That makes sense. But what doesn't make sense is the fact that the air traffic controller at DCA did not pass that information on to the controllers. So yeah, guys, that's it. That's all I got to say about that. We'll definitely keep an eye on this. I'm glad you guys were watching. I'm glad you guys hopefully enjoyed this. I don't know how I'm going to stop this thing. Right? I don't know how I'm going to stop it, but I'm going to try. That's all I got for now. I'm definitely going to be back later on tonight. I want to talk about prenups. I want to talk about that Andrew Schultz interview with Andrew Schultz, all the flagrant guys were interviewing James Sexton. We're going to do that later on tonight. It'll be kind of late. So hope you enjoyed it. That's it. That's all I got. I don't know how I'm going to end this thing, guys. I'm going to play the outro video, and then I'm going to do what I can to stop this thing. We'll see. We'll see. But thanks for rocking out with me. I'm DL saying this is That Really Want to Know podcast. I'll talk to y'all later. Peace.
Nothing like I've ever seen. It's just a thing of beauty.
Darn, that's the end.